Good day, Leticia, and welcome to your. Hold on, I had the name written down because I came up with a new name for this one. It's your origin story. Oh my gosh, right? So, what we're going to get into today is this your design, but from the perspective of your development as a person during the first 12 years. So, hold on, let me hide these meeting controls because they really get on my nerves. It's ugly. So, from the time that you are conceived, which is the 12th house, right? Through the time you come back around to the 12th house, that is the first 12 years of your cycle. Even though we don't really count that first year while you're in utero, for astrology's sake, I am going to look at it and give you an idea of what your time in utero was like and how this connects to this lifetime for you, along with the first 12 years that created the blueprint for how your life was going to go this time around. So these first 12 years dictate the way that your cycles are going to build around each other. So let me pull this up and give you a better example of this. So first and foremost, thank you so much. I hate the term guinea pig, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to use your chart to teach something that I think could be really cool, really helpful to many, many people. So I should have said perfections. Here we go. So as you can see through this chart, which is known as your perfection chart, it's for Hellenistic astrology, one of the older types, right? So every house represents a certain number of years in your lifetime, and this chart goes up to 83, right? But this first 12 years is that core that I was talking about, that base for if you were kind of thinking of life as a game, that's the hand you were dealt during the first 12 years. Everything after that is a repeat of those lessons and patterns from that first 12 years, whether this is you embracing them or clearing them out because they were a trauma, as dictated by the life you had before this one. So I believe we'll get into a little of that as well. But your life looks pretty. It does not look like your life was very much dictated by past life outside of who you married and the family you were born into. You did not come into this realm with past life karma, although you were a little bit in the whole, so I'm going to say money wise. Yeah, you had to work hard for everything you got. So there was not a lot of actual karma because there are no planets in your 12th or your 8th, 6th house, but your south node means where you began, right? You started in lack, just you individually. The family you were born into and everything that happens after that was meant to give you a new perspective on self, so that you'd be a better person. It looks like very possibly the people that you interacted with romantically and in a very one-on-one setting, and this could even be best friends, right? Were a reflection of the person you used to be. So I just got the ping to mention that before we begin, since I'm going to be talking to you from the perspective of this life only. Some people have a lot of karma from another life, and they're like, what did I do in the last life in order for this to happen to me here? You were just a selfish person who was worried about money in this life. You were meant to develop actual values that included a connection to other people. From there, I'm going to start you with your time in utero, which is the 12th house. Very interestingly enough, right now, you are getting some drive behind that. So this means your creative energy is probably up. Your dream world is probably very active, but this is pretty much what you experienced in the womb. It looks like your mom's time with you, like in her body, she was very celebrated. I don't know if you were like a birth that was like announced and everybody was looking forward to you coming. Like, were your parents popular? Were people really excited about your mom carrying a baby? Because that's what it feels like. She was treated like a queen. And then at the very end, there is a possibility that she realized she was having entirely too much fun and she cut back on. Yes, you could see that in here. She cut back on some of the overindulgence that was happening, but it was like right before you were born. Maybe towards the end, she realized, like, oh my goodness, I am getting so big. I must not, not eat as much. But before that, the whole pregnancy, you were very much nurtured, cared for. It feels like maybe your mom danced a lot, sung a lot until that last part, till the end. You got pretty big as well. So this leads us into your first house. And I find it very interesting that I'm getting this to you on your lunar return. So this is an emotional reset for you, in a way, a connection to your, so I want to say emotional flow. Yes. So during your first year, oh my gosh, uh, can I say you're very blessed to have this in your first house? So usually when you see this, you think about somebody who is coming into very busy settings at first, like their family has. In this moment, I'm feeling like somebody who has a family business. I don't know if, did your parents already move out or were they already moved out by the time you were born? Because it just seems like there's a lot of traffic going through your house. I don't know if it's visitors, other family members, but it's just giving me this energy of you being very doted over. It's all positive. Let me tell you that. Like you were cherished in the beginning. Like if you had been able to solidly form thoughts about your process, you would have thought you were the best baby in the world. Like, oh my gosh, everybody loves me. You set your emotional foundation and your value based upon the family that came and visited you and took care of you. This feels like aunties came over, grandma came over, like a bunch of different people. But that is why is at the fourth degree here. So you have a source family, and I rarely see this, but a family from God, a family from the divine here. Back that up with Yeshua in first. So just blessed off top like they wanted you to have. I'm saying they like your guides, your guardians. Uh, a good beginning this time to make sure you turn into a good person. But this Folus, which is like your major turning point that hits you, this is still family. This is still a matriarchal unit. There is somebody who came, who was taking care of you, who was holding it down, who planted, if you will, just the seed of caring for others in you. Like you saw the same particular face every day. Even though from 1 to 7, you are learning in, and I meant to look this up. I think it's beta because that's when you're taking stuff in and trying it out, right? Uh, you are only logging data from your first house to your seventh house, the age 1 through 7, just taking it in and building your personality. Now, after 7 is when you start acting out or showing what you have learned in the first 7 years. And then when we go around, I also find it really interesting that Jehovah Witnesses say that at 13, that's when you are considered an adult, although you're not a real adult. That's when they say that your sins are counted for on your own. I now think that's because this first 12 years is based on your development with your parents. All of that stuff's on them, who you become as a person. Because at 13, you take off on your new round of loops, and all of that energy is pretty much on you. It's who you develop once you are cognizant, who you develop into as a person. Nurture versus nature, right? So, your second house, the second house, your second year, it seems like your parents, I want to say they really got it together, got on a roll, whatever may have been lacking at the time that you were born, right? Uh, this could even mean, I don't, if you had any health stuff, if you came early or any of that, that would have been indicated in that first house. I'm looking at the fact that now your rising is at the first degree, which means you are coming to heal yourself in this life. But I needed to mention that just in case you had any newborn stuff going on during that first year. It's because you needed extra hands on you. This is all about teaching you to be better than last time through your experience with your family where your original value was defined. 14th degree, that's the Taurus degree that rules the second house. So the second house, the second year, it seems like your parents got a little bit more in the hang of taking care of you. But this is also where your wound, your Chiron was first. triggered. So I'm actually going to pull for this one because I want to say seeing your parents, and it could have occasionally been arguing, stayed in your head some. But there was a wound. It still feels like around communication in some way, shape, or form. So what was the wound that Leticia developed during her second year of life? This is about witnessing patterns in relationships that are or were kept in the back of your mind. So no, they were arguing. There was some disconnection. There was some unhappiness, and it's like you just witnessed it in your palace. Sorry, your palace is your unique genius. Uh, so you started developing ideas about communication. It could have been arguments about you, even because this is your house of self worth. But the second year is the first time that you made ideas about what relationships were and how they worked out. So imagine like a toddler in their little chair, and then they see their parents fighting all the time about the bills or having another kid and stuff like that. And you just make a note like, this is relationships. That's the feeling I'm getting here and what that set in your mind for you. So this third year, I guess this is what happens when you fight during your second year, because it seems like this time was very dark. And by dark, it's a continuation of this calling the storm energy that started when you were two. I'm going to guess if your parents are together right now, it's been a very interesting dynamic. It's been a very long road, is what I'm getting here. Because during this time, and it's the reason I'm doing this reading is because there are certain things that you will never remember, but you will always experience. Pain stays in the body. So if you were hurt at 5, say you cut yourself, right? And in some weird way, your mind just like, or how about that? Say a babysitter cut you, right? So let time pass and it comes back around to a 5th house year. Say you're in a position where you have to be around a caretaker or like a den mom in college or something like that. There might suddenly become a fear or disdain for authority and you don't remember why, but it's the pain coming back up from something that happened before through making what isn't obvious and can be obvious because, memory with children is blah, right? I want you to be able to trace back the areas that are still blockages in you or understand why you work in a certain way or why during Scorpio season you notice you get depressed. What I'm seeing right now is at age 3 is the first time you dealt with depression. That's some very heavy shit. I don't know if your family moved because it looks like a transformation in your whole family. But in a way, I guess because you were 3, it's like you needed communication. You didn't need secrets. You needed somebody to explain what was going on as it was happening for you to feel secure because this is when your mind started working in that detective type way. Like nobody would tell you anything. So you had to start putting 1 and 2 together, starting to rely on your intuition and keeping secrets. And this is just all the shady patterns in your thinking, any hiding that you've done, any whispering, any secreting, is secreting the word, any gossiping, anything like that. It was made during this 3rd year where for some reason you had to witness a big secret or keep a big secret, but you carried that experience with you subconsciously because we have the 24th degree and the 12th degree. Both of those are subconscious degrees. It also appears that that sort of made you decide that maybe relationships weren't a priority for you. But that backs up the fact that you have Saturn in the 7th. You put a block on your relationships in this life, as far as you getting married. Like it shouldn't have occurred until after 28. But all of that was set into place during the first 3 years by whatever you witnessed happen between your parents, because that affected who you are as a person, right? And your ideas about union. Look, they're at the very same degree. Whatever happened between your parents, and I'm going to guess that it definitely was not good. It changed the way your psyche worked and transformed you at your core. So this leads into your 4th year, your 4th house. Something happened with your family. I don't know if they split and you moved or y'all moved all together, but during this 4th year, you started stepping outside the box. So you got a little bit more freedom. Whatever freedom your parents attained, whether it was together or let me pause this. Hold on, let me. I heard somebody coming. Hold on, I'm pausing the video. I heard somebody coming down. Okay, I'm paused. Was somebody coming down? Okay, we're good. If you hear anything in the background, just so during this time, it's like you got to explore more. You finally got out of whatever my mind said hellhole. I didn't want to say that, but whatever box you were in at first. And it's not even necessarily that it was like a hellhole, but mentally it was pretty bad for you dealing with the argument of whatever they were going on in their relationship. Okay. So during this time, you got to begin to explore things like with your inner child self. This is when you were like, oh, I can sing. Oh, I can dance. You got to explore. You got to try new things. And it sort of kind of seems like your parents became your partners. And possibly like they're not together, but it just feels like each parent started developing a different type of relationship with you. It's like they were better having individual time with you than them being together and then having individual time with you. You know what I mean? They both gave you a different idea of partnership than what you had seen before, but it was totally based on how they treated you. Once they were split, I want to say, even if your parents did not actually split, they just moved to a new location and kept going with the shits and giggles, it just feels like whatever that move was they made it for was for the better for you going forward. Although my heart is saying they had to have been divorced. They had to have been breaking up something for you to go from such a dark year where you actually developed depression to you move into this other year when you're moving fast, you're doing stuff every day, you're traveling, you're having fun. The fourth house year was completely different for you. It's the first time you actually, besides when you were born, got to feel like it. You had a family. That set the bar for what you wanted for your family in the future, and probably also backed up that part of you that was like, yeah, I'm gonna wait till I have kids. Since it does appear that very possibly finances were one of the problems that your parents really like had with you. And I keep wanting to say your siblings. I don't know. It does sort of look like you came from a big family as well. So that could be it. So towards the end of that, uh, restrictions came back for some way, shape, or form. And this led back into, and of course it would be around Christmas time, right? But the fifth year, the time you turn 5, around that Christmas, is when there's a new layer that kicked in for you. So first and foremost, there is someone who came along as like a soulmate to help with the depression that you like low key carry with yourself mentally, just still that little sadness that comes along with you because it looks like that stayed with you for a long time. Your Mercury's in Scorpio, your Sun's in Scorpio. Whatever happened at 3 really, really constrained your energy, I want to say. It made you keep a lot of yourself to yourself. Yes, you had this time in fourth grade where things were a bit, I said fourth grade, at 4 years old, where things were a bit more fun and jovial. But there's something that happened in your fifth year. Maybe you started going to school, but you found like a buddy. You found somebody who was a soulmate to help you during this time when you were constricted. Even getting the feeling very possibly that school was restricting for you during this time. Meeting people helped you. A lot of the friends you came across were like past life people. Only one real soulmate, though. It's like you would have formed a super tight bond with one particular friend or person that kept you company during this time as you went through the big change of inserting yourself in school. So this year was a little bit for you because it's like once you finally got free and you were around the house and stuff, you did not expect to have to get shoved into an institution. But it is where you learn restraint and structure. I'm saying friends made your day though. School really gave you an outlet, which leads us to year 6, where you have fully stepped into I like having friends. But we have a new inside out feeling that has popped up here. So, first and foremost, I don't know if you realize you were super smart in school or like your teachers recognized you and saw you off top, but this is the first time that you became aware like, hold on, I'm working with something. This could have been when you started seeing grades in second grade, but you were finally aware of the abundance that you were capable of achieving by doing work during school. This also caused your first time to deal with enemies. I don't know if you were so good in school you pissed the other kids off, like they didn't like your relationship with the teacher, but this is the first time you developed anxiety. Your classmates gave you anxiety, like having to do group projects started giving you anxiety. I'm like, the group projects you got to do in second grade, but you do. You have to sit in a little semicircle and do stuff with people. And it just seems like a couple of douches gave you a hard time about your wisdom, about your questions, about your very forward thinking, mature mind that you had that they had no idea came from pretty much so much darkness and staying to yourself and finding external outlets to keep you out of your mental space is what I'm feeling. They had no idea. They could not understand. Which leads us to your seventh year. This is the last year while you're in zombie, what's the word I want to use? Intake mode, zombie intake mode. Remember, your personality is just being developed based on what's seen around you. You have no control. You can't pick or choose. Like, I like this and I don't like that. You're taking it all in. So everybody's opinions of you, everything you witnessed before now, in your mind, this is all a reflection of you. If you saw people say, in regards to you, you would keep that in your mind, like, oh my gosh, I'm so cringe. Like, or you see your parents fighting in relationships, you're like, marriage is fighting. Like, that's the way that the zombie mode works. That's where your seventh year enters, right? Your relationship patterns, what you're working towards in this life, trying to heal that relationship brick that has stayed with you your whole life. So with you having a Saturn here, this means you blocked it till 28. You did not want it to come back, but you didn't want to forget about it either. So part of your passion that has been constrained is in you finding your partner that you sort of finished the game with them last night. It's like love wasn't a big thing for you, but establishing yourself because there was already a partner who loved you and y'all made it through the game before in another lifetime. So you said, honey, this lifetime, I would like to establish my career. I will catch you halfway through the game and then we'll live out our happily ever after. Because before, I did not like the way that the story turned out or the type of person I was in a previous life. So there was a restraint based upon your Saturn because Eros is your sexual energy, but also your joie de vivre, your joy. What gives you energy to go out and get it, right? Is at a Saturn degree, along with your wisdom and your mediumship gifts, by the way. So until you got your clairs together, I want to say, until you started understanding your spiritual gifts and your abilities as a spiritual being, because this has been a very spiritual journey for you, to change the contents of your soul from somebody who was completely immersed in the human experience and forgetting that there was spirituality to somebody who never takes spirituality or having a good partner for a grant to again. So there was a binding there. Until you found out who you were in your career, you would not be able to lock down and merge into a partnership in a way that's based upon a fear of what would happen. Is it possible? Did your dad have all the money and your mom didn't go the way that it should have? Was he not fair with his assets? There's just something to this about partnership and money and you wanting to never go down that road, which leads us to the first year when you are or were cognizant of all of this stuff before, right? You're out of auto mode. What happens? This is your first year dealing with what turns you into, at age 8, the original monster. And I'm just going to say monster because it's Aries in eighth house. This is somebody who's completely self-involved, self-aware, just worried about how they're going to accumulate stuff in themselves. They stay to themselves. They might be sneaky. They might just be focused on money. And these are usually things that happen when somebody grows up. For you during this time period, it seems like it's a throwback to whatever mental trauma you dealt with at 3. I say that because this is the house of Scorpio and your melancholia, which is your depression, right? Is at the 8th degree, ruled by the Scorpio house. So you dealt with depression again, but this time it really feels like it could have to do with your self-esteem, how you felt about puberty, how you felt about changes in your body, how you felt about how you looked in the mirror as well. This is your first time seeing yourself like, hold on, how do I feel about me? And everything that came before poured into that year for you. So this ninth house, this age 9, this is the first time like, is this middle school maybe? Are we at middle school yet? You're getting closer, but it feels like this age is when you really started it up. Maybe you found an outlet for all the rough stuff that you went through the year before. Because look, you have your vertex at the 26th degree. The 26th degree is you defining yourself and your value, what you mean here. Sorry, I had to fix that, right? That's where you were supposed to come from here, or that's where you came from, where you dropped off, where it sort of went bad for you. But in this case, you learned how to be an artist or a singer, or you expanded yourself and you learned some sort of skill that made you say, hey, this is my thing. I'm good at this. I should keep trying this. Right? That leads into your career house. Or what is meant to be your career house now, or what you're known as. You learn to articulate something that was an important part of you through your art, through your crafting, through whatever it was you learned how to do. It could have been cooking, it could have been gardening. There is something that happened at 9 years old that gave you an outlet for all the angst and energy that you had developed during these other years. And then by the 10th year, you were able to verbalize yourself, known for your mind, known for all that stuff that people probably didn't know. Like, why are you so smart? Why are you so mature? Because I've been building this in my head this whole time for 7 years, and I didn't feel comfortable expressing myself until now. That's what happened at 10. Because next, at 11, you found your tribe in a way. Whatever grade you were in, this is definitely middle school, right? Uh, or moving into that energy. You became like den mom. And when I say that, I mean like the mom for all the friends. Like you just know stuff. You know who needs this. You're the group healer. That's what this Reiki at the 28th degree and what's going to come back around for you in this life. A healer for a collective of other feminine energies who need to hear your wisdom, who need to hear what you have to say. But that also means during this year, puberty hit, even though it might have hit a little earlier, but you gained some jealousy because of your feminine energy, because of the way you carried yourself, because of your softness and your beauty and the way that other people looked up to you. This doesn't even mean that you had to be a super popular person, but somebody who is unhealed coming into your energy will always have a negative reaction. That is the story of your Lilith. They don't like your sensitivity and your self-expression and the way you care for other people. It's like, imagine you have like Regina George's group, and then you have the one that comes along like, hey guys, you don't have to follow her. You can start your own thing and be okay. You don't have to be treated like this. And that's the energy you have. That people who are oppressing other people hate, let them hate them, man. Because you being that person amongst your friend group here, caring for other people, sort of using the energy from the feminine people in your family who cared for you and sharing that with other people created some, like, it seems like really solid good karma, but really solid friendships. Like that rolled over into your 12th year, which was the connecting factor, the full circle piece, where you stepped back into, do I want to say popularity? It was like a peak for you. Did it actually have to be popularity? No, but I mean, you'd have a good, solid group of friends. You would have been happy during this 12th year. This transition in from middle school, I'm sorry, from elementary to middle school would have been sort of jubilant for you. Like you finally stepping into your own, you finally stepping into yourself. So when you left out of your cycles, it seems like the end of your cycles are easier for you. The hardest time for you would be, completely honest, from ages 3 to 8. That's going to pop up in this life as 15, 27, 39, 16, 28, 40, 17, 29, 41, 53, 18, 30, 42, 54. And then we got, what is it, 7, 19, 31, 43, 55. And then 8, 20, 32, 44, and 56. Now keep in mind, each loop after this first one, you can go up on an upper spiral. Let me show you this. Let me click. My mouse has been acting funky since I moved. Oh my goodness, adjusting after I move and getting all my stuff back together has been like, dear God, please be a fence. So this is the perfect one. Your first 12 years were on an up spiral. No way around it. It even ends on an up spiral because of the way your mom started for you. That good job, mom, on a loop, right? Every time you turn 12, what is the word I want to use? A denomination of 12? I think that's the word. You start to spiral again. So you end on an up spiral, you end on joy, power, love, appreciation, and then you come back to contentment. At this point, I believe because you have that artistic skill or that thing that was developed at 9, this keeps you going up. If ever you let go of that art and go down boredom, it will drop you down into a lower spiral, right? Keep in mind, your test will always come at those ages that I just mentioned, and they will all be based upon what you witnessed during this first 12 years. So you now have the blueprint for your character in this life and your up spirals and your possible down spirals just based on how the board was set when you were born. So I hope this was super helpful, and I look forward to your feedback.